let's talk about a bit of that. That Magic the Gathering, Wizard of the Coast, great, launch that you were able to be part of. How did that come together? It sounds almost serendipitous. How did you put that together? How did it happen? I mean, because if I understand correctly, those are multiple stakeholders from different companies,
Very
right?
good. Hmm.
Right. So it's like, working in corporate, it's just like to get different stakeholders within one company on the same page can be a tug of war for many different reasons, right? How did you get different stakeholders who all want their hand on the steering wheel with some real, I mean, at that time, and even now to this day, some of those brands are some of the creme de la creme, you know? And people are like, wait, I want my stuff to be in the forefront. I want my stuff. And then you got all types of different things. How did you navigate that web of stakeholders with those three brands? Magic the Gathering, Wizards of the Coast, and Valiant.
Acclaim Entertainment, the video game
Oh,
company, be involved. So
oh,
yeah, it's a
wow.
lot. You're very good. That's perceptive because it wasn't easy. But everything I learned from Dungeons and Dragons. So
Okay,
who were those dudes who sat around the table? They did not want to be there. Let me promise you, they
that's
did
right.
not.
They wanted to hang outside. I'm like, yo,
They
let's
want
go
to hang
outside, yo. Let's
outside.
let's
We
let's
could
go
go drink
downstairs.
beers. They
Exactly.
want to get into trouble
Exactly.
and so forth. So I had to convince them, first of all, and be persuasive. So I had to appeal to their vanity. I had to appeal to their desires. In order to
Mm,
appeal to their desires, I had to find out what they wanted, what they were interested in. Some people just wanted to be able to hang out in somebody's house without fighting and arguing and getting into trouble inside the house. Come to
mm,
my house and that's not going to happen to you.
mhm.
Come to my house and we're going to play some Rush, you
Right.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
some Yes.
Exactly.
All you have to do is sit down and play with me.
Exactly.
And playing with me means that I'm going to ask you questions. And
Mhm.
everybody loves to answer questions. Look at
That's
what's
right.
going on right here. All right.
Right.
So um, uh, all this is with what happened with Magic the Gathering is that same thing, right? So my boss had a need at Valiant Comics. He needed to make a lot of money with comic books, right? He also needed to appease his new bosses who were Acclaim Entertainment, a video game company, had just purchased the comic book company. So I
Wow.
thought to myself, here I am, editing comic books and just being kind of another dude on the floor.
Right.
But I'm thinking those people who made magic, they're artists. I knew who they were because I was
Mm,
a gamer, right?
mm,
And I used to write about games when I was a little younger in the late 1980s, and I used to write about the people who made Magic the Gathering while they were earlier in their career, and I treated them like artists, and that
mm.
was rare. A computer game designer from the 1980s is being called an artist,
Right.
or an adventure game developer, somebody who made Dungeons and Dragons modules, was an artist. No, nobody would think that. I
Right.
used to think that. I used to think that the way that you thought that creates interactive narratives is a new art form. And I wrote about that.
Mm,
So they would read my writing. Who else is saying this? Gomez and Gomez's colleagues, my affiliates at a little publishing house, used to feel that way. So they loved me. They were like, oh, that's cool. You see things the way we see things. I'm never going to forget you. So when I go back to them, and they're all established, Magic is coming out. It's a smash hit. It's gigantic. And I go, hey guys, I'm interested in telling stories about your card game and tying all those cards into a single story world. they came back and said, well, we have that idea, we like that idea, but we have no time. We're making the game.
Right.
So we have to, can you do it? And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the purpose of these comic books and these video games, I'll do it. And the reason they let me is because I didn't just run off and start putting it together. I asked them a million questions. What's your thought? How does this work? How does magic work? Who are these characters? What do you imagine a good story set in your universe would be like, and so forth? They didn't have all the answers, but they gave me enough so that I understood their language, Enrique, la lengua.
La lengua.
And when you put their language in your work, they go, well, of course. Well, of course, that's right. That's good. You know, and that's how you get all these different factions to cooperate. They see themselves in the work, even though the creative vision was mine largely. I took into account that it wasn't only mine. It had to be reflective of the core tenets of the brand, right? The mission statement, the vision, the underlying value system that was in the brand needed to be reflected in the product. And when they saw it, they said, "Okay, do more."
Oh man, I love it.
And that's how Magic the Gathering took off as a transmedia story world.
Wow. Wow.